Hey everyone, it's February 14th, 2023. Happy Valentine's Day. I want to give you a quick update. I haven't been around in a while and I want to say today's the day. We always think we're at the end of the road and that we've caught everything up, but I do believe today's the day. So I go into final testing mode now as I actually start to launch projects, which is something I meant to do before, but we keep making something else happen in the back end. So all I want to say is this: in the back end, we have everything right for being able to generate articles with pages, content, commands in a great way, and then being able to generate iterations for those. So we believe we have that done, and what that does is just simply make it extremely easy for you to really control the kind of output that you generate when you create pages. So you have a main title, you put in a backstory all about your company, your products, your services, your prices, your hours of operations, whether you're licensed, bonded, and insured, whatever you want for a backstory, right? And then that way, when the website goes to write your content, right, then it first researches your backstory. Okay, that's like the 30,000 foot view looking down. And then it goes, okay, now I know what it's about. So then it looks at your main title and says, okay, we want to write about that. Then it double checks your keywords to say, okay, if we're going to write your main title with the backstory in mind, we're going to stay within the realm of what the keywords suggest. Now, really, we're starting this off for a page, okay, with however many subtitles and words per subtitle, to get our bearing for the subtitles we're generating. You guys have seen me do this in I don't know how many videos. And then once we have that, then that gives us room to be able to actually create the contents for each of those subsections. And with each subsection, there's a title, and you can amend it. There's a backstory box that you can choose to use or not, depending on whether you feel like the title needs a backstory for that section. Okay? And there's keywords. Why would that exist for every single subtitle? Because you're going to see it over and over and over again. You're going to have like 10 subtitles. So you're going to have those 3 things 10 times. That's 30 things. Okay? It's going to be the 10 titles. And then you can hit a button to copy the backstory down just for speed. And you can hit a button for copying the keywords down that you've got for the main title. So you're going to copy the backstory and the keywords down. But then you can amend the backstory or remove it from some sections if you want. You can change the keywords. That way, you have enough control to ensure that when you write section by section by section, it really does every section very well. And the point there is this: OpenAI does not remember what it wrote last. So when it writes the first section of your page and it goes to write the next section of your page, it doesn't know what we're talking about. It doesn't remember. So if all it can do is look at your title and your keywords, it's pretty lost. But if you give it a backstory, it goes, oh, aha. So it needs to do the research before it writes, every time before it writes. If it's going to write this subsection, it better do the research for that subsection first. Then if it goes to write the next subsection, it better do the research before it writes that subsection, right? That's the whole idea. That's the reason we have a backstory option for every single subsection. Now, having said that, don't just copy and paste the whole backstory in, because when it writes, it also thinks that's the only job it has to do. It doesn't know it's going to write more of the page. It doesn't even know it wrote more of the page earlier. It thinks this is the whole page. Okay? So what do you need to do with backstory inside each section to really navigate and control it? Decide what you're going to talk about. If you always mention what your price is, it's going to try to put your price into every single one of the subsections, so don't do that. If you're going to say call us now, it's going to try to call us now in every single one of the subsections. So don't do that. Adjust whatever you want your backstory to be, section by section, and that way it'll focus in each case. And the coolness of that is that your backstory can be absolutely anything from one section to the next. It literally doesn't have to follow logical rules. It doesn't have to do anything in any particular way. Okay? So your backstory gets to help you really refine what it is you want said for your subtitles along with your keywords. Okay? So you can create just this incredible air of control within every production you do. Okay. Having said that, I want to show you the other thing. This is what really was hard for us to do, but we finally got there. So looking in from the outside, our job is to be able to handle like 100 websites at once, right? So we're going to have our domains column. And if we do a job for real estate somewhere, that could be like 100 domains for real estate there. If we do a job for homeopathy, it could be 100 domains. Or Bowen therapy, it could be 100 domains. Plumbers could be 100 domains. You know, it could be as many as we need, right? So, not just that, but what are we doing on each of those domains cases? We're creating pages. Are we creating just one page? Well, no, we might create 2 pages, 5 pages, 10 pages, or more. Okay, so we could do the same website, but different pages. So if I wanted to create like 10 pages on here, then they could be for all the same website, right? Those 10 pages. And then whatever I put in for that information, I can copy that for every next website going down, right? So with each page I'm going to create, I can decide how many subtitles I want, subsections. I can decide the keywords that relate to each subsection. Here for simplicity, you'll see that this is for subsection number 1. This is for subsection number 2 and subsection number 3. You know, the subtitles, the subsections, except what? This right here, I'm showing the same keywords for every subsection. I wouldn't normally do that, right? If a subsection is about the agency, I'll use keywords talking about agency, maybe service. If the subsection is about financing, I better be talking about financing. And then going through these subtitles is good if I really just kind of like dial in these keyword sections. If I'm going to have 5 subtitles, I should have 5 of these rows here. I've only got 3 rows. I can use 1 or more keywords per row, but I should have 5 rows, right? If I'm going to do 8, I should have 8 sets of keywords here. Whether it's just 1 keyword per line or 2 or 3, doesn't really matter. I'm going to match it to the subtitles, which I'll explain in a minute. But I need to make sure to really do that. And if I do that, I can dial it in, right? So what's the tone of the page? It's really going to be the same tone all the way through the page. So maybe professional, engaging, informal, engaging, whatever it is that we think. It could be witty, you know, anything. It could be in the voice of Bob Villa. It could be in the style of Napoleon Hill. It could be anything, right? Boom. All right. This is custom commands for subtitles, which is optional. It's something we're still experimenting with. That would be like if you said, write the subtitles in French. Okay, that's custom commands. It's not really something, you'll find it in your panel. That's what I mean. There's, where? Oh, we hid it. We did hide it. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. What am I saying? Silly me. Okay, let me just check this. Chicago plumbers. I want to make sure I get this idea right. Backstory. Acme plumbers in Chicago specializes in, you know, water, heater, installation, fixing broken pipes. What else, right? Pool installation, sump pump repair. We're licensed, bonded, and insured. Okay? And then I might have a keyword for, you know, whatever it is, expert. So, Kevin, what do I know? Okay. And then I'm going to say, yeah, give me a bunch of subtitles, like 10. Let me see what I want to select from there. Maybe all 10, maybe some of them. Right? That's the idea. And then I'll just show you real quick on the next page what this is all about. Okay. Professional water heater experts, experienced pipe fixing pros, licensed pool installers, certified sump pump repair, bonded water heater services. Notice how much our backstory helps control everything. Way better than just a couple of keywords going with the title. See? If you do keywords with the title, you just get expert Chicago plumbers versions of that all the way down. But no, we want detail, right? And we want the right kind of detail, the ones that apply to our business. Okay, so then I could go down and say, okay, some of this stuff is repetitive. I should add to the story. I should talk about we've been in Chicago for 25 years, 15 people working for us. We work Monday through Friday. I can get an introduction in here, a conclusion in here. I can still move these things around. I might even put all the similar kinds of things together to see which ones I want to keep and which ones I want to throw out when it's done writing. Or I'll just start deselecting whatever I don't want to write about now because it just feels like, hey, sort of duplicate. Survive pump, experience water heating, right? Pipe repair. Okay, fine. And I'm just like that. Well, anyway, let me go to the next page. Okay. And here's where we can copy the story down through all those sections that we just created. Okay. And we can still edit the verbiage for each of those titles. We can completely change them. I can change this to a totally different title now, huh? Okay. And then the backwards or backstory and the keywords, right? Well, to save time to start off, I can copy the story and copy the keywords. Okay. And that does that much for me. And then if I need to, I can change the story, which I probably will, section by. Long as we're talking about pool installers, I'm not going to talk about water heater installation, fixing broken pipes or anything like that. I'm going to stick with pool installation, and I'm going to probably expand upon the story a little bit. Okay. And so I'll put some more detail in here so that when it writes it, I'm not just going to say Acme Plumbers in Chicago again. I'm going to say we specialize in. Okay. Remember, each subsection thinks it's its own thing, and it's supposed to include everything you give it, right? So just give it what you want it to say in that subsection, okay? And if you feel like, wow, that's it means I have to think and work a little bit. The answer is, so what? You're doing this once, and then you're going to be able to make copies onto all the subdomains if you're going to go through different cities in the same, different cities on the same website. Or if you're going through other websites, then you got your recipe right. This is what I call a recipe, okay? Just getting all this stuff blended in properly, okay? Figuring out what I want for each of these things. I always like call us now at the bottom in the keyword stack. I like to add it in. Call us now. And yeah, you can put your phone number in here, either in the backstory or in the keywords. I like to do call us now in the intro as well, okay? Call us now, okay? But now when you get to the very bottom, what's it got? Tone. You can choose a tone. Witty, informal, professional, engaging, convincing, polite, other. And other can be anything you want. So I'm going to put witty, engaging. Okay. Creativity. I'm going to go as high as I want on that. Word counts as this. All right. I don't see it here. I forget where we put it. We had a there it is. Custom command. So if you do a custom command at this point, it's going to apply to everything. But what it's going to be for the custom command, you might just think, write everything in French or something like that, but never mind. And on the other page, it was there too for the beginning of this. All right, fine. So then I would hit next and continue. I'm not going to do it now. It takes a while. I'm just going to continue with the story. Yeah, custom commands up here for these things. I would have said write the subtitles in French, and that way it produces the subtitles in French over here. Except, you're not going to use that. Yeah, it's still in test mode. I don't even think it writes the articles in French or anything. So let me get back to where I was. So article sample, right? We can say on this domain, create a page. Have that many subtitles inside that page. For each of the subtitles, use each of the rows. This is for row 1, subtitle 1 rather. Row 1 is for subtitle 1. Then this is for subtitle 2. That's for subtitle 3. And keep going. I should obviously put in more, right? There, and then I would put whatever I need for the keywords for each of those. Obviously, I put some time into it. I'd make sure to change the keywords up appropriately for each section. And that way, I've got that much going on, right? Okay. Now, what is the tone? It's going to be the same tone for the whole page. So what do you want that page to be? And that could be this, it could be that, whatever we want. Custom command, like I was saying, not yet. Don't worry about it. But subtitle, like up to how many words in the titles? Up to 18. It gives it plenty of room to be able to think what it wants to say. It won't write 18. It never finds a reason to. The titles tend to be pretty short. But we give it room so it can explore what it wants to say. It's not crimped. And then how many words do we want for the entire article? Up to. 4,000 is the max right now anyway. So we just say up to 4,000. Okay, and let it decide what it feels it needs to take to finish the topic each time. Okay? So that's a pretty good call. Now, what is the backstory? Okay, well, whatever the backstory is should relate to the page that we're writing, right? The backstory should relate to the page that we're writing, except we're going to get more specific. Do you remember the way the page went, right? We could do subtitles, and each subtitle is something we had control over. We can change the wording of the subtitles. And with each subtitle comes its own keywords, and that's what's happening here. So we can name our subtitles personally in this file also, and have these keyword stacks go with each of the subtitles. If I got 5 rows here, I better have 5 rows there, right? That makes sense. And then guess what else? Backstory. We can do a whole backstory. It can be lines long. It can be as long as we want. But we can have 5 of them. Okay? So we can talk about what our business is or our products or whatever. And we can do that literally so that every time we have a subtitle, it has its own matching backstory and its own matching keywords. Does that make sense? So that's that. Now, that was one thing, and it was a big deal. And, we went way further. Not only are we creating those articles, but we can assign them to pages on the website. Okay? So for each row, okay, where when we're putting the page on one of these domains, here's what the article title is going to be. Okay? That's the name of the article. It's the H1 tag, really. But what's the page going to be? All right, well, maybe our first thing here, a real estate agency, we want that to be the home page content of the website. So it'd be index, right? The home page is always called index. And then we've got, financing, right? Financing a new home. So we've got a slug called financing a new home. Do we want to enable the sidebar on these pages? Probably not in the beginning. We'll just set these to 0 for now, until we have our sidebars filled in. Then I'll come back through and just flip them all on. So we've got controls for that. Flip all the sidebars off, flip all the sidebars on. Make all the pages no index, make all the pages index so Google can index them. Should we fill in the meta descriptions or not? Okay, so yeah, fill them in for sure, So no sidebar for now, we'll do them later. Fill in the meta description, yeah. What's the page title? Okay. And that means basically in the top menu, what's the name of the page there? Well, it's probably going to be home. And then financing. You got to keep short titles for the top menu because you can't use a lot of words up there. Your menu's got a line wrap. And then you've got that problem of having many lines of pages in your top menu. All right. Well, anyway, what's the browser title? The browser title is like how to choose a real estate agency or something. That is what Google is showing in Blueprint, right? How to choose a real estate agency or whatever it is. Choose, and then again, if we're doing this geographically, right? Choose a great San Diego real estate agency, something like that, right? Okay. Then we've got the parent page, the slug, right? Which is optional. And that means what? When we create pages into the menu, do we want it to be in a drop-down? After all, we only have room for like 5 or 6 pages up here in the top menu. Then we're going to line wrap. We don't want to line wrap. So we got to make sure to keep these categorical because we only have 5 out. There's like home. It could have pages underneath it. It's if we think that makes sense. Then we've got like services could have a drop down, products could have a drop down, features could have a drop down, training could have a drop down, etc. Right? And then we can even do drops, but right now we're just doing drops. So this is the parent page. The parent page would be the top level page in the menu from which individual pages show up underneath. So the way I'm saying this financing a new home would go, if I put this here, it's going to make it a drop-down page of that one. the home page, right? So if you hover over home, then it'll show a drop down and it'll have one link in it so far, and that's financing a new home. Okay? And guess what's going to be on that page? All of the financing a new home stuff. Okay? So yeah, we're talking about automation. Automate the writing of the articles onto the domains and automate the creation of pages, automate the assigning of the articles to the pages, and make sure to hit all the options like sidebar and fill in the meta description. What's the browser title? What's the page title? What's a parent page, if applicable, in all those cases. So it's cool because this means being able to create 100 rows, 1,000 rows, one project, 10 projects, full scale, where they write themselves according to the recipes we just make sure to perfect in the beginning. And then we can go very, very wide, very strong, very fast. Does that make sense? We can make as many pages as we want onto each website and then multiply that times all the websites. And for all those pages, we can decide what pages need to show up in the drop down of another page so that no matter how many pages we go to make, they can fit in. If we need to, we will take it one step further, and it'll be something like parent subpage slug, right? That way we can have the drop down that each has its own drop down, right? Now you might think people don't navigate through all those things. The answer is who cares? All those things show up in Google. People do a search in Google and they see one of those things and they click on it. They could be on the home page or a top menu page or a sub menu page or a sub menu page because they're all equal in Google's eyes. They all just show up on Google equally. And then whatever somebody did a search for, the best matching page is the one they're going to land on first. So then they can browse from there, but they land on the right page. That's the idea, right? So it's totally cool. The more pages we have, that's the more hooks in the water to catch the fish, right? The fish are the people swimming around the ocean of the internet. All those hooks are the pages you create, okay, for every different point. Okay, so anyway, there you go. That's it's taken us a while to get this stuff working properly, and so that we can create absolutely refined content that doesn't cheat. It's really top quality content to begin with. Okay, what have I got besides that? I'm trying to bring up the pages. Content sample file. It's a little much. Let me show iterations first. Why is it making that hard? I don't know. Let me try this. Okay, iterations. On any one of the domains, we already created a bunch of pages, say. So let's say one of the pages is this one, a short history of Mickey Mouse. Now, say we got our recipe right. We love our tone. We love what we did for the subtitles. We love what we did for the keywords. We love what we did for the subtitles backstory for each of the sections that build up that page, okay? Say we love the 5 pages we created on the website or something like that, and we set them all up and they're all great now. Wow. Every time we get a page perfected from a recipe point of view, it's probably time to make variations of the page for other websites. So this is a different way of doing the articles, but by the way, it doesn't have to be other websites. It can be other subdomains on the same website. Say I was trying to create a version of the page for 100 different metro areas in the US, which really applies to stuff you want to sell locally or stuff you want to offer locally, right? Because as we all know, trying to compete nationwide means you're taking everyone on head on, right? So if you're coming in with something very competitive, then the sneaky way to get around the competition is to compete city by city with the competition in each city. It still adds up to basically the whole nation. And it doesn't have to be every city of the nation, but the point is your level of competition. If you compete with all the Chicago guys in Chicago for the top at Chicago, it's way easier than competing all the USA guys to be at the top in the USA, right? So compete with Chicago pages, have another subdomain compete with Denver for Denver pages, Another subdomain compete with San Diego for San Diego pages, San Francisco for San Francisco pages, stuff like that. We've talked about that for years, right? It's a really good way to go. So anyway, yeah, you'll create variations when it's time. And you know what the beauty is about those variations? They will come out so differently. And if we're doing that with iterations, even the subtitles are totally overwritten, which frankly is true for the articles. We said if you come to Excel and you're going through remote control for the articles, then yeah, the subtitles need to change themselves. Otherwise, it's too big a footprint. So the subtitles will reword themselves to be different ideas, even though they're, well, same idea, different verbiage, right? So that you don't have the same outline on every single website. But anyway, no, we thought this through. It's coming out great, and I'm really excited for what's going on. So now it's just kind of like we're literally starting to launch our projects and final test this stuff. So this is huge, right? Iterations means I can create a bunch of pages first, one at a time, and then go create 100 versions of that one, 100 of that one, 100 of that one, 100 of that one, 100 of that one. Now I got 500 pages. That's enough for either 500 websites or 500 subdomains, meaning 500 metro areas. Or I'm sorry, 100 metro areas with 5 pages each. 100 websites with 5 pages each, right? There you go. I think you get it. Silly me. And then the last thing I wanted to say is content. Okay, sample file. This is cool. When we create the iterations, they look like this, and then we merge them. So all of this stuff, starting with var 1, like var 1000 series, that is a single page, right? That's a bunch of stuff in each of these sections, okay, that adds up to a whole web page, right? So think of a web page as running this way until it stops. Here's the next web page. It's a var 2 series until we get to, guess what comes next? The var 3, that's a third page, right? And that goes all the way out, in this case, through 6. So I've got like a 6-page website so far. I can always add more later, but I've got 6 pages here. And then I've got 10 versions of that. So that's good for either 10 websites or 10 subdomains, right? So I can come here and decide where I want each of those things, each of those 10 to go. Same domain, different domains, what? Fill in the metadata? Always. What are the pages slugs? That's just the names of the pages. I'll fill that in. Keywords for the metadata, to make the metadata make sense. Well, that's easy. Whatever the page slug is, the keyword's going to be really similar. Like if this is finance a new home, this will be about finance a new home. Now, I might just put a city in there, though, to help isolate the city. So then if I'm going down through 10, then it could be 10 different cities. So I'll incorporate that into the search, which is simple. But there you go. Sidebar, on or off, right? I've got total control over that right here, okay? So if I'm doing 6 pages, I can just say, we'll turn them on soon, but in the meantime, make sure they're all off, okay? Yeah, and then browser title. There you go. The browser title is what Google shows in the blueprint, and which you see at the very top of the page, right? So we have total control over that. And then I could just do this going straight down. In this case, I can go 10 deep because I have 10 pages ready. What I'm saying is all these stacks of pages are ready. Where do I put them? Well, I'm going to put them here, right? So a lot of this is repetitive. I basically build it and drag it down, and then I paste in a list of domains and I say go. And all these pages are different, so they're all going to be different when they get uploaded. But there you go. That's the way that works. So it's absolute insanity what we have right now. It's very quick. So then the final point is this. When we run our remote control system, it takes a long time to do something. Like we filled out the long front page of 100 different websites, and it took 4 hours. 4 hours. About 2.5 minutes a page times 100 pages. Okay? So then, how do we make that faster? Well, we clone our remote control center so that we can have each work independently using its own API keys and everything else so that it can operate directly on its part of the job in parallel to each other. So, you know, if it took 4 hours, but you had 4 instances, it really takes 1 hour. So we save 3 hours. We can move 4 times as fast. So if we have 8 instances, okay, then we can get the job done in half an hour. Well, an hour anyway. We got to set them all up. But having said that, way faster and easier to do all the jobs, right? Okay, just so you know, that's what we're up to. That's where we're going. And that's what took all this time to get here. So I'm final testing that. We're going to be able to run out big projects. So I'll start talking all the time again about projects. What you guys should get into, what you guys should do, the progress with all the DML positions and the ones that people are going to want to dive into. I also got somebody to look up best places for alcohol and drug, best places for accident attorneys. So we lined up the data for that. So we're going to start matching you guys into that. Those of you who already bought into those positions. And we're going to be able to start pounding that out. All the templates are ready in both cases. So we just need to fill them in. And that's what all this was all about. Getting all this stuff to work on these files remotely was exactly about being able to do all of that. Be able to properly fill all them in and make these pages live. So we just got to create the recipes and start running them out, making sure we like them, and then filling in those really long pages. Yep. Okay, so yeah, by the way, it's the same thing kind of. It takes about 2.5 minutes per page. So if we're going through a lot of websites, it takes a long time. But if we use multiple remote control centers, then it speeds it up. Yeah, we're really getting a grip on everything we need and how to lay it out, how to make it work. And I can't believe it. On a programming end, it is so well machined. And even when I wind up in the OpenAI community forum and I see the problems that other people are having in there, I'm thinking, yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of effort to really dial in the coding to quit having issues. But we did that. We quit having issues with tons of elements of the process. So now this thing is ready to roll and I just need to final test it. And that's kind of where we're at. Okay. Thought you'd enjoy the update and the fact that we're finally launching. So if my final testing is working the way it looks like it will, then we are literally starting to go live. And I'm going to get some guys trained on this process now who are going to run out the recipes so that they can create great recipes. There are guys, there are copywriters I have who can do that. And then we're going to start creating the great recipes for all these projects we're putting out. Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.